Alrighty then, let's get started. We've got a full house. Just say hello to a bunch of folks here. Tom, welcome back. Hey, Randall, how are you? Mary Costa, I was just talking about you. Marianne Orshak, how are you? Mark Weissenberger, haven't seen you for a while either. Jim, 6'10", or 5'22". Jim Lang is here. Jen Foster, what's up? Heidi, I already said hello to you. Everett, Elaine, David, Cindy Speaker, haven't seen you for a while either. Hey, Bob. Ashley, and Adam. Good to see you guys. All right, I'm going to click the recording, and we're going to get started, and we'll talk about our predictions for the year. Hey, everybody, it's Ed Rush. Welcome to the 2020 Vision webcast. Today, I'm going to talk about Iran, business plan. I'm going to tell you what's going to happen with the stock market. I'm even going to give you my prediction for the 2020 presidential election. Here's the way that I did this. When I wrote our time for today, I wrote it all surrounding the events that are happening right now, but every single one of the things I'm going to talk about has a business, marketing, persuasion, communication, influence, or time management strategy embedded inside of it. In other words, we're not just going to talk about current events, and you're not going to find out exactly what's going to happen only. You're also going to find out a marketing or persuasion strategy that you can tie onto the back of it. And I've got an incredible show plan for you. I got to just tell you, my buddy Mike Koenigs is waiting in the wings. Mike was just at CES, and so I asked him to come on and talk a little bit about technology. It's actually been a little while, man. We need to get our lunch scheduled. But this originally, Mike and I used to do these 2020 prediction webcasts every single year. And then last week, what happened was we had that Iranian general that got hit in Iraq. The moment that happened, my phone started ringing off the hook. First was ABC, our local news channel. They actually drove a news van here to my house, interviewed me sitting right here in the studio. The next morning, I was in their studio. Then I started doing radio shows. I got invited back to the studio at ABC because everybody wanted to hear my opinion as a defense expert, really, to understand what was happening inside of Iran. So I started thinking about it, and I'm like, you know what? I've got folks on my list that would be interested to find out not only what's happening there, but also with the current events around the world, including the presidential election, the stock market. Later on, I'm going to talk about Bitcoin and even gold. I am also going to tell you today my theory called the death of social media. I'm going to tell you this year, the one social media that you need to focus on, and I'm guaranteeing you that there is a major, major change that's about to take place on social media that you need to be aware of. And as we go through all of it, I'm going to give you marketing, persuasion, communication, and speaking tips along the way so that you can get a whole bunch out of it from the business perspective. Not you can just find the current events, but the business stuff too. We're going to have some fun. By the way, I always set aside time to ask and answer your questions, okay? So there is a Q&A button right below where you can type your question in, and I've set aside quite a bit of time today on the Zoom just to answer your questions. Could be about anything. Could be about current events. Could be about what's happening in the political world. It could be a business question, and I'm certainly hoping that you ask questions specifically about your business. Some of you know when I do these Zoom meetings, they're not, I'm not planning on sending out a recording. I'm not planning on using this promotionally over and over again. This is an opportunity for me and you to interact in a way that's significant for you. Okay, so one more thing on the administrative note, right below you, I mean like right below you, there's a button. I mean, it's like right here if you're on a computer that says chat. Hit that button. It opens up a chat window typically on your right-hand side. If you are on an iPad or a phone, that button is at the top right. Okay, so click that button. What I'd love for you to do is to jump in and say who you are, where you're from, and what you do. All right, so I've got a bunch of folks that have already jumped in, like Patty Thor, Cindy Speaker already said hello, Lindsay, Pat Zemer, Everett O'Keefe. Okay, so please jump in and say hello. That's for our community purposes so that you can connect with other amazing folks inside of this community and we can really get rocking and rolling. All right, so let's start with our first agenda item for today, which is what happened in the news this last week. Okay, so like I said, today what we're going to do is, in no particular order, by the way, we're going to talk about Iran. I'm going to cover the 2020 presidential election. I'm going to talk about the stock market, what I predict will happen this year. I'm also going to cover what I think is going to happen this September. Okay, I'm going to cover Bitcoin and gold in this conversation as well. Cover what I think is, I'm calling the death of social media. And then I'm going to teach you my business plan for 2020. 2020. This is my 5-part business plan. I'm going to show you what I did in November, kind of breaking my business down into 5 core areas that are my focus in 2020. I'm going to tell you, all you got to do is like copy and paste this, use it in your own business, and it'll absolutely blow you away. By the way, it starts with the way you think. I'm going to cover some new mindset stuff that will totally rock your world. In fact, I have a training next week I'm doing. People paying $3,000 or more to come into San Diego. I got about 25 people at this little mastermind that I'm going to basically for the entire time teach my 5-part business plan. So you're actually getting to see it first. Okay, before we do that though, and by the way, the order that I cover these is based on the time that we have. I may end up bouncing around. I think I'm going to cover this one second. But let's talk about Iran first. So like I said, my phone last, I don't know, Friday or whenever it was, like started ringing off the hook once this thing once the stuff hit the fan. Now, it's important for you. I'm going to show you this clip in just a second, this little 1.5-minute clip of me on the local ABC channel. And you're going to hear me say something like this, but I want to open this up by saying one of the first and most important things that you can do as a thought leader is to separate yourself. I always think about this like when I was flying F-18s, we would take off and, out of Miramar, make a big right-hand turn, and we would basically climb for like the first 8-10 minutes of the flight. And we'd climb up to about 25 or 30,000 feet. Now, at 25 or 30,000 feet, you've been in an airliner before and looked out of the window. When you look out the window of an airliner, everything is small and you have a big perspective on everything. Like at 30,000 feet, if I'm over San Diego, at 30,000 feet, I can look all the way into the desert. I can see the Salton Sea and even all the way to Arizona. I can look west and see a whole bunch of the Channel Islands that are off to the west of San Diego. I look south and I can see all the way to Ensenada in Mexico. And I can usually look north and almost get all the way to LA if it's clear. In other words, your perspective is really broad. Okay, so one of the first things that you need to do, and this is you as a thought leader, okay? So as something happens, one of the first things that you need to do, and this is what I did, and I'm gonna explain the thought process that I went through, but the first thing that you need to do is get out of reaction mode, right? So the first thing that we do as a culture right now, when something happens, is people like react, okay? And we're very partisan right now, so we've got our little tribes, and there's like the one tribe on the right, the one tribe on the left, which I've chosen not to participate in the tribes, okay? And so there's one tribe on the right, one tribe on the left, and immediately what Americans do, at least, is they go, okay, what does my tribe think about this? Okay, and immediately your thought process is limited to the group of people that you're receiving information from, all right? So one of the first things that you can do as a thought leader is step back for a minute, take a big deep breath, look at what's happening, and then begin to communicate what's happening actually on the ground. Now, the first thing when it came to the situation with Iran that you had to actually separate in the national discussion was this one question, which is like, should we be in the Middle East in the first place? And then the second question was, what about this strategic strike on this Qasem Soleimani, the general that got hit in Baghdad? They're two separate topics, okay? And that's actually really important to understand that. And I'm gonna go back in history just a second and define why this is so important, okay? Our involvement in the Middle East as a country started not in 2019, not in 2003 when we went into Baghdad, not in 1990 when we went into Kuwait. It started in 1805, okay? Somebody tell me who the president was in chat. I'd love for someone to tell me who the president was in 1805. Now, there was a situation in the Mediterranean Gulf where our shipping at that point was like sailboats, right? Our shipping was getting hit by this group called the Barbary Pirates. And so what the president did at that time, that's right, Charlie said Thomas Jefferson. Yes, if you've ever heard the Marine Corps hymn, from the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, this is where the shores of Tripoli came into the song. In 1805, Thomas Jefferson sent the Navy and the Marines into the Mediterranean, where we attacked Tripoli, and we attacked the Barbary pirates so that we could protect our shipping interests. Now, this was hotly debated in Congress at that point in time because the Constitution at the time had no provision for international protection on commerce. In other words, if you wanted to sail over to Europe and trade and come back to America, you were responsible for your own protection. This was the first time that we got involved in the Middle East and it had to do with trade. Now, in the 1950s, Eisenhower, at the encouragement of the British, got involved in overthrowing an elected leader of the country of Iran. That's when we started in the country of Iran being involved with their politics. Okay, now, in the 80s, we were involved in the Iran-Iraq war. We were actually supplying, 70s and 80s, we were supplying airplanes to the country of Iran to support them against Iraq. And then the Ayatollah took over, and basically our good relations with Iran became bad relations with Iran. Now, that right there is the historical perspective. That's what has happened. And the truth is, once all this comes to play, it's kind of hard to put the toothpaste back into the tube if you become the president right now and have to start making decisions. Now you're making decisions on individual situations. Now, with that in mind, let's go really quickly. I'm going to come back to this screen right here. And what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to share with you, because in a minute, I'm going to teach you a couple media principles. If you've ever wanted to be on TV, hang on a second, let me shut this down. If you've ever wanted to be on TV or radio, it's not even that hard to get on, by the way. But I'm going to show you this little clip. I want you to watch this. Hey, Bob, welcome to the show. I want you to watch this. And then in a moment, I'm going to come back and I'm going to break it down from a teaching perspective. Okay, so could you just hang out here real quick. This is about a minute and a half. I'm going to play this actually right off of YouTube. And hang on. Here we go. All right, so you should be seeing this, and let's play this.
Troops are getting ready to deploy to the Middle East as tensions in the region continue to escalate.
Retired Marine fighter pilot, now military defense expert Ed Rush joining us in studio live this morning to give us some insights. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, good morning, Jim, Virginia. Interesting start to the new year.
Yeah, right? Tense start. And, you know, I know you're tracking this closely, the threats being lobbed, the planned troop deployment. What are your concerns as we get deeper into this?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing, in my opinion, our chances of going to war with Iran start with a Z and rhyme with a zero. I don't think we're anywhere close to full-scale war unless something really changes in the area. And I think as we think about this, it's important to really distinguish between, like, why are we in the Middle East in the first place and this separated incident of this hit on this Iranian general.
Okay, expound on that then, because I think a lot of people want to know, why are you so secure in the feeling we're not going to war?
Yeah, I mean, Iran at this point is, first of all, their army and air force is nothing compared to what we have. And I think that's important in the context of what we have. I mean, they're flying airplanes we flew 40 years ago in Iran. The second thing is they're completely decimated economically. Us pulling out of the Iran deal, plus economic sanctions from the UN, have really, really turned the country economically into a really bad spot. So they're in no place to go to war. And so I think a lot of the saber rattling you're hearing is predictable, but I think what we'll see from Yeah, absolutely. And that was really the biggest thing that I think people are afraid of. The fact is, you know, Iran's been doing it for 30 years now. So the fact that there may be a terror attack, I mean, they've been planning and executing terror attacks for a really long time, not only here, but also abroad.
The president tweeting out that cultural targets would be considered in all of this. As a former combat pilot flying an F-18, what about that? You get an order to do something like that could be a war crime. How do you respond?
Yeah, that's a no-no. So that's a clear, the tweet isn't a violation, by the way, of Geneva Convention, but striking those targets definitely would be. So if you're a pilot and you get an unlawful order, you are required by morality and law to not comply with that order. So I don't see us striking either with a drone or with cruise missiles or with an active airplane, any cultural sites. I think that was more of the president's tweet than anything. All right.
Than something that actually planned. All right. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Ed Rush. Really appreciate your insights this morning.
All right, hang on. I need to turn that off now. Hang on.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here today. Just like to make.
Don't really feel like watching the news conference. All right, so back into that. So the first thing, like I said, when you as a thought leader are seeing something happen, take yourself up to 25 or 30,000 feet. First question. The first question I got was, you know, what do you think is going to happen? You remember the first thing I said was, look, the chances of us going to war with Iran start with a Z, rhyme with a zero. Why did I start like that? Very simple. We're not going to war with Iran, okay? But the second reason is the entire discussion was, oh my gosh, we're going to war. People were in San Diego, we're talking about troop deployments, right? The 82nd Airborne was moving out of Fort Bragg, I think on a scheduled deployment. Everybody's like, everyone's going to war with Iran. We're not going to war with Iran. And you can see actually by the Iranian response, Iran fired 13 cruise missiles. I think it was 15 actually. They all missed. maybe even intentionally, by the way. And everything sort of de-escalated from there. All right, now, a couple tips really quickly. First, as a thought leader, it's important for you, in my opinion, to get off the news. Okay, so like I don't watch CNN, I don't watch Fox News, right? I'm not interested in the sides, I'm not interested in the spin. I am interested in the facts and the data and the situation that's actually happening on the ground, and you can get that, okay? The second thing, get off Twitter and get off the news. Like just get off completely. I'm not even kidding you. I got a call from ABC. They said, hey, we want you to talk about the Iran situation. I hadn't even seen it at that point. Okay, I was going to eventually see it, obviously. Okay, but the first thing is, like I said, take a step back, look at the situation as it is, and then speak with a level of lucidity and be a little bit different. Okay, so now let's talk quickly about media, because sometimes I get questions about, you know, how do you do interviews or how do you be on media? First thing is, getting radio, podcast, TV is not that hard, especially locally, okay? I don't care what your topic is. The local news channel is desperately looking for new topics. I was sitting there talking to the anchors. I said, how many times do you do this a day? They said 5. This is the 6 o'clock, 6:30, 7 o'clock, 11, 11:30, okay? That's the morning, folks. Then the afternoon folks come back. They do it over and over and over again. And the person who's the producer at this local network is always trying to spin some kind of new content, okay? So the first thing is, getting media is not that hard, and it's certainly good as far as growing your brand. The second thing is when you get, now I'm going to give you a couple little media tips real quick, and then I'm going to jump into the second part where I'm going to talk about the business plan. Okay, so when you get on media, now again, I'm going to throw credit to Mike, who's coming on here in just a little bit. Mike and I spent together thousands of hours in front of a camera. And I learned a lot being on camera with him. First thing, okay, when you're on camera, if you notice when you come back to that, when you went to that little shot that was on YouTube, when they came to me, I was smiling. And I learned this because if you see yourself on camera and you're not, like most people, I know like there's a joke about the resting face. Most people, when they're not smiling, look a little bit like, you know, you look like, okay? So smile, right? And the second thing, and this is actually really important, I have a technique for speaking. It's the same thing as media technique, which is whenever you're coming out, come out swinging, okay? So when you're on a podcast, when you're on media, when you're asked to speak, you're doing like an interview on your phone, the first thing, okay, should be coming out swinging. Like the first thing most people do is they're like, just want to thank you. It's like a really great opportunity. No, do the thank you stuff later. Come out. Okay. So you remember the first thing I said was, look, the chance of us going to war with Iran, start with Z, rhyme with 0. It's not going to happen. Right. So come out. Oh, boom. All of a sudden now the anchor's like, whoa, hey, that's a bold thing to say. How can you back that up? And now we're having a conversation on the ground that I chose. Okay. Last thing I'll just simply tell you when it comes to media is be different. Okay. If you watch Fox News or MSNBC or CNN, the same stuff gets drudged out over and over and over again. And all of a sudden, now somebody's like, man, they got airplanes that are like 40 years old. They probably can't even fly them. People are like, oh man, I didn't even know that, because you're talking about something that's completely different. Okay, so there's more on media, by the way. I could do a whole Zoom meeting, and maybe I will for those of you, and a lot of you are, by the way, for those of you who are registered to come to my April 23rd to 25th event. If you're not, by the way, I have an event called The Ultimate Speaker. It's a beginning to end system for growing your business and making money as a speaker. It's based on the principles that I use every single day in my business. I've got, 7 or 8 speaking events over the next few months. I just got a invitation for a $20,000 keynote fee to go to London, fly business class. My wife and I give an hour-and-a-half talk and fly back. Okay, so I'm going to teach you in April some of this stuff when it comes, or these strategies when it comes to speaking. But I'm also adding into the April session a discussion of media. So I'm going to teach you how to get media, how to get booked on media. When I say media, by the way, I mean TV, radio, like actual radio, like the kind that you can tune into in your car, and then podcasts. Those 3 things. I'm going to talk to you how to build your answers and how to answer questions that you don't want to answer, and we'll get there. All right, so I'm going to shift gears. If you got any questions, Catherine says, attended the event in Dallas and can tell you that it's very power-packed and worth every cent and every second. Thanks, Catherine. That was awesome. Amanda said, very smooth with the Trump tweet. Let me talk about that really quickly. I'm not a Republican or a Democrat. I'm not right or left. I don't even call myself a moderate or a centrist, frankly. I don't call myself anything because I don't like labels, okay? I've given myself the permission on a case-by-case basis to decide on the issue what I think is moral, right, and just and best, okay? So, and by the way, if you're a Democrat or Republican, it's totally fine. I have nothing against you. I think you're an amazing person. Typically, the extreme right and extreme left are about 6% of America, not 45% of America. And so my guess is you're not one of those. And you probably think well, and you probably have good opinions on things. I just decided several years ago to just get out of the tribal thinking. And because of that, I've chosen to be able to communicate in a way that doesn't make sense. So when Amanda said very smooth on the Trump tweet, you have the president tweeting something. Let me just set the context here. You have the president tweeting something that if executed would be illegal. Okay. Now the tweet itself is not illegal. And so what you had was, he tweeted that, and a whole bunch of people on one side freaked out and was like, that's a war crime. And they're right. If it's executed, it's a war crime, but the tweet itself isn't. And there's a whole bunch of people on the right who are like, he's just playing like 3D chess, you know? And what's true? Here's what's true. The tweet's not illegal, but the execution of the tweet is. So our Air Force and Marines and Navy pilots will not execute a mission. They're not going to execute something that is an unlawful order. It won't even get to them, by the way. It'll get stopped before it gets there. We do have pretty good people, okay? But I wasn't interested in either of the sides of the debate. I just wanted to speak having to do with the facts of the actual situation, okay? So again, you may find yourself on media with a question that you don't necessarily want to answer. And again, I'm going to teach you how to do that at an upcoming training or in April if you want to come to the April event. All right, in a minute, I'm going to talk to you about the 2020 election, what's going to happen with the stock market. Now, before I do that, I'm going to roll up my sleeves and I'm going to give you my business plan for 2020. Now, if there's a part of the, Long says, when and where is the April event and what's the link to register? Thank you for that. Delisa, if you can just throw in the dates, location, and the link. It's April 23rd, 25th. The link is theultimatespeaker.com. And by the way, Long, I'll talk about this a little bit, but I'm going to start promoting the event about a week and a half from now. When that happens, the prices are going to go up because they're at the old price. And then the other thing too is when I do the first promotion, what I do is the first group of people that register, I usually just honor the people who are registering early. The first group of people who register, I usually invite to this private lunch I do on day one. My celebrity guest speaker this time is a guy named Michael Haig, who is Will Smith's screenwriting coach. He's a storytelling coach. So Michael and I have a lunch on the first day. It's like a private lunch in a separate room. And I usually invite like the first 5 or 10 people who register to come to that private lunch. So Long, when you register today, I'll put you into the lunch. Same for everyone else. I'll do it for maybe like the first 10 or so, okay? I'll give you a couple more details on the event in just a second, but let's move into the business plan. Now, so typically what I do is every November or so, I just set aside time to come away from my business, usually like 1 or 2 days. Oftentimes I'll just drive out to the mountains, either just for the day, or sometimes I'll stay overnight with my journal and a planner, and I'll start to think, all right, what's 2020 supposed to be all about? And how am I going to execute what I want? And there's sometimes where literally it's like one thing that I'm implementing. And there's other times where it's more like, I've got a step-by-step plan. Oh, as I set aside some time this November, I'm not kidding you. This was like this year. It was like with clarity, boom, 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 boom. All of a sudden, the things just started popping out. And I thought it was kind of unique, or I thought it was kind of appropriate, right? Because 2020 is, 2020 vision. It's like seeing clearly. In November, and I was looking at the 2020 and I'm like, whoa, like all of a sudden I had a really clear vision as to what the year should look like. So I started writing this stuff down and I'm like, all right, this is good stuff, because if I do this year, it'll set the foundation for my business for like the next 4 years. So I wrote it all down. I started building the plan all around it. And I'm like, man, this is actually pretty good. And so I got together with my coaching members and I'm like, hey, this is like my plan. I've got these 5 things that I'm dialing in. And they're like, wow, that's really good. So then at my event that I did last fall, I started teaching some of this stuff. And I'm like, hey, this is my thing, right? And so what ended up happening was I formed this little mastermind group It's meeting next week here in San Diego, where people are coming in just for 2 days. It's like a 2-day training where I'm teaching these 5 things. Now, it's not my purpose on this Zoom to talk about the training next week. If you're interested in it, just ask in chat. But what I'm going to do is break down for you my 2020 business plan. This is your job. Write it down, okay? And then start to fill in the blanks on the things that are important for you. And I'm going to tell you, when you get, there's 5 things. When you get all 5, you're going to make a lot more money. You're going to take a lot more time off. You're going to have a lot more peace of mind, and you're going to have a lot bigger impact, okay? So there's a lot of benefits that come with this, and you'll see why when you move all the pieces together, everything kind of starts to fit in order when you do this. Okay, so in general, for the last 3 years, I've had one overarching goal, and that goal, that personal goal has been to be a mind master, a time master, and a money master, okay? So these 3 things, mind, time, and money, all right? So mastery over all those 3. Now, the 2020 business plan actually has elements of all 3 of those, and you'll just see that in just a second. So the first step, and again, oh, thank you for the link. Let's see. Okay, so Delisa put that in there. Thank you, Long. And then who is that? Oh, Lori Paul. Thank you, Lori, who was at the event. It is an awesome event, okay? It is like, it's about as cheap as you'll ever see it. It is the cheapest you'll ever see it. So enroll now. All right, so the first thing on the 2020 business plan is something I call total mind control. All right, so I don't have time to go deep on this one, but I am going to give you one of the most important things you can use as a principle when it comes to controlling your mind. Okay, so when it comes to your thoughts, my goal is really simple. I just want every single thought that goes into my head to be there on purpose. Now, you know how hard that is? Like, I mean, like you wake up in the morning, and like this morning, for example, last night my wife and I watched the last 2 episodes of Chernobyl. I don't know if you've seen that, but like there's some like nasty stuff. I mean, there's people dying, you know? And so when you go to sleep after watching something like that, I woke up this morning at about 5:30, sat down with my journal, my Bible, did my little meditation in the morning. I couldn't get like Chernobyl out of my head for like 10 minutes. And I kind of breathed and meditated through that, and then started thinking about the things I needed to think about, namely this little Zoom meeting that we're doing right now. Okay, so part of the reason why you want to control your mind is because I don't want to think about Chernobyl like the whole day. I'll give it 5 minutes in the morning and then get on to the business of doing what I need to do. Okay, so when it comes to total mind control, I've got about 4 or 5 little techniques that I'm using right now, but I'm going to teach you one. Okay, and this is like one of the most powerful ones that you can use. So when it comes to mind control, you'll hear people, so let's say this P represents the present, okay? Now, you'll hear people who are like, you know, you just need to be present-minded, and you just need to be like, you need to be like in the present, okay? Or people will say that you need to be more mindful. Problem is, they don't tell you what your mind is supposed to be full of. And the truth is, when it comes to the future, like for example, I mentioned this event in April. I mentioned this keynote speech that I'm doing in London, right? I mentioned that there's like 4 or 5 or 6 events that are coming up pretty soon that I'm going to be speaking at. Now, when it comes to those events, you can't always be in the present because sometimes you got to plan the future. Like I have to get a plane ticket, you know, to London for my wife and I. I need to start planning my talks. I need to start working on so you need to do the future. But at the same time, there's things that are in the past that are important for you to bring forward, right? So sometimes like the mindfulness people have you focused too much on the wrong thing, right? So there are things that need to come and go from the future and the past while still remaining, for the most part, in the present, or at least executing in the present. Okay, so now this is where this total mind control, I think, takes a huge leap forward, right? So this is the present, right? You have the past, okay, and then you have the future. So you've got these 3. Now, the challenge is with most people, when it comes to their relationship between the past and the present, most people do what I call an illegal exchange. And the legal exchange is worry, doubt, resignation, discouragement, right? So a lot of times when if you know that this is true, by the way, when you think about the past and you're like, oh, like if you do that, if you make that body movement, there's what I call an illegal exchange. There's something coming from the past that's affecting you in the future in a negative way, okay? And so what I did was I made a new rule. When it comes to the past, because you do need to bring some things to the past. when it comes to the past, there's two things that I allow forward. Okay, the first thing is experience, and the second thing is pattern recognition. Now, I don't have time to explain why those two, but bottom line is that experience is a conscious mind exercise, and pattern recognition is a subconscious mind exercise. So I'm bringing forward from the past the two things that are legal when worry, doubt, resignation, discouragement not allowed. Okay, from the past. First one right there. Now, the second thing is that when people think, and this is all about thinking, right? When people think about the future, the typical thing that they exchange backwards, okay, is fear and worry and uncertainty, right? So a lot of times people think about the future like, oh man, what if I like run out of money? You know, or like, what happens if my kids grow up and do drugs? Well, that would kind of stink. You know, it's all of these things that people are bringing backwards from the future. Now, the future is like in the past, at the very least, all the dumb decisions that you and I made, at least that happened. But in the future, we don't even know if that happened, okay? So in the future, the exchange that's allowed right here, okay, is planning and dreaming. Got it? So two things come forward from the past, experience and pattern recognition. Two things come from the future, which is planning and dreaming. Worry, doubt, resignation, discouragement, fear, worry, uncertainty, okay? All of those things are illegal, right? So you cross those off. And 2020, my mental goal for 2020 in total mind control was to completely eliminate the illegal exchanges coming from the past and completely eliminate the illegal exchanges that come from the future. Now I want you to pause for a moment. Imagine for a minute, what kind of peace and freedom would you have if all the time you looked to the past, you had a big smile on your face because all the things that came forward were experience and pattern recognition. They were good things. Even the bad experiences, by the way, brought forward good things. What would it be like to look into the future with like a big sigh of relief and a smile on your face because the positive things in the future were planning and dreaming, okay? That's total mind control, right? And that's, like I said, one of 4 or 5 things that I'm focused on and teaching this year, but that's like the very first one, okay? Hey, Amanda says she's excited to see me in April. I love it. Jean-Michael says Chernobyl was an awesome show. It really was. Won a bunch of awards too. Okay, so first step, total mind control. Again, I'm moving pretty quick, right? Because I got a lot to teach you. I got a lot to teach you. Okay, so hang with me. Number two in 2020 is leads. Okay, when I talk about leads, here's what I mean. People who express an interest in you, your products, or your services. They haven't bought from you yet. Okay, but they're people who are interested in you. Okay, so here's my goal for 2020. It's very simple. I would like to double the quantity of new leads while simultaneously doubling the quality of new leads. Double the quantity, double the quality. Okay, so let me give you an example. An ideal person for me is a person who has a 7-figure to 8-figure business. Somebody who's in the $1 million to about maybe $20 million range. That typical person has already founded the company that they're still running. They have maybe 2 to 10 employees, maybe 15 at the most. They are the kind of person who's investing in themselves and learning, and they're looking for like an idea or two that will make a big difference for them. Okay, they want to have a bigger impact. They want to take a little bit more time off. They want a business that they can run and not run them. Okay, that's an ideal person for me. Now I work with folks who are all over the map financially, all the way down to people who are just getting started or reinventing themselves. But doubling the quality for me means doubling typically the kind of business owner that ends up coming to me. So the folks that I'm focused on right now, in terms of leads, using things like LinkedIn or speaking, are people in those categories. So a lot of my speaking events coming up are in groups of professional services where there's folks at that level right there. But simultaneously, if you're doubling the quantity of your leads, check it out. Here's what happens. Double the quantity, double the quality. Here's what you end up with. You automatically end up with a 4x increase in your business. Listen, so if you were at $200,000 last year and all you do is this, you're at $800,000. Boom. Assuming you have the capacity on the back end to be able to fulfill that. Now, I'm going to show you really quickly a little tool that I created for my partner advisor members. These are folks, by the way, I've got last year, I went out of the coaching and mastermind a business and essentially started partnering with business owners. It's $80,000 program. About 25 to 30 of it is paid up front or on retainer, and the rest is based on growth. So I typically take just 5%. It's actually a really small amount of the growth of a business. So for example, if somebody comes to me at $1 million and I grow them to $2 million over the course of a year, then I get $50,000, right? Which is 5%. If they go to 500,000, I get 25. So it's a pretty simple model, and that's the model that I'm working with right now for folks. So the folks that I'm working with in my advisor group, I created these little tools, but here's one of the tools that I created for them. It's just a simple little lead generator tool, right? So this tool, I'm just going to go through this quickly, is you go through the list of leads, right? And you check off the ones that you're doing or you would like to do. Affiliate JVs, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, other social, Facebook ads, Twitter ads, LinkedIn ads, Instagram, Google, YouTube videos, YouTube ads, referrals, word of mouth, speaking, media interviews, podcasts, Quora, direct mail. By the way, I used direct mail this year really successfully. 2019 really successfully used direct mail. Then you write down first your best and most consistent lead source. The crazy thing is a lot of times people have never done this, right? And then what you do, my recommendation to my partner advisor clients, the folks that I work with one-on-one, is really simple. Every other month, you implement either a new lead source, okay, or you implement a lead source that you used in the past and you're going to try again. So for example, I used Facebook ads 2 years ago. Okay, success. 2019, implemented again with a lot more success. And I did it because I was targeting a better audience using retargeting, right? So the point is, there are some times when you can implement a new lead source. The overall point is your job this year is to find on that list or some other list, find the most consistent of your current lead sources. Then every other month, just implement a new way of getting new people to pay attention to you. That way, after a year, you'll have 6 new lead source ways implemented. But here's the interesting thing. If you do 6, like 4 of those aren't going to work that great. One's going to work okay, and one's going to go gangbusters. All of a sudden, it's going to be like the most amazing new thing for you, okay? Now, when I'm talking about leads, and I'm going to say this when it comes to customers too, this is like really important. Hang on. When it comes to leads, this is the one for me that is absolutely non-negotiable, okay? And it's this one, speaking. I will tell you, in a little bit, I'm going to talk to you about social media and what I predict is going to happen on social media. Bottom line is it's getting harder and harder and more expensive and more difficult to get people's attention. Right now, if you want to get someone's attention on Facebook or Twitter, get ready to spend some money, okay? Because they're not going to interact with you unless you do. This one right here, I'm telling you, man, I started 2020 and I'm like, this is my focus for the first 2 months. And I just started going out and I'm like, hey, you want to do, I started going out to all of my friends, the people that I know who do events. I started going out to people who are event promoters and I'm like, hey, let's work together. And I'd love to come speak at your event. And all of a sudden, boom, 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 boom. My March is full. And I can tell you, I can predict my income based on the number of speaking events. Now, I include, when I talk about speaking, I include like what I'm doing right now. I include when I'm on somebody else's podcast. I include when I'm on someone else's Zoom meeting. I include when I'm on someone else's webinar. That's all speaking, okay, for me. And I will tell you that this year is growing really fast simply because you're using this as a lead source, okay? Now, if you're not using this to generate leads, by far, the best, in my opinion, the most efficient and the most effective way to get new leads is to be out there communicating. There's just something about the open communication of your topic that draws people to you, okay? So I'm gonna mention this one more time, by the way, because it's super important. Back to the main point though. Double quantity, double quality. Double quantity, double quality. Okay, so let's see. Good, let me check the Q&A real quick. All right, awesome. So if you've got questions as we go, button below, Q&A, type them in there. I'm gonna get to your questions, okay? Number 3, I'm gonna make the letters here in a second, but number 3 is customers. Really, what it is what I call, check it out, consistent customers with strategic systems. Consistent customers with strategic systems. Let me give you some more letters, okay? What you want right now this year is a consistent, repeatable revenue stream that doesn't require you to be there all the time. Did you catch that? Consistent, repeatable revenue stream that doesn't require you to be, I'm going to explain all this, okay? Consistent customers with strategic systems, or a consistent, repeatable revenue stream that doesn't require you to be there all the time. Now, there's 4 of these. Most businesses, especially the ones that I start working with at first, have 2 to 3, okay? They might have a consistent, repeatable revenue stream, but it requires the owner to be there all the time. Or they might have a consistent revenue stream that doesn't require the owner to be there, but it's not repeatable over and over again, right? Or they've got a repeatable revenue stream, but it requires them to be there all the time, and then it's not consistent, okay? So the goal of a business is a consistent, repeatable revenue stream that doesn't require you to be there all the time, okay? So there are a whole bunch of different ways to get customers. The drill, by the way, the first drill, oh, and here's the thing. So remember I said with leads, if you double quantity, double quality, you actually 4X your business, okay? My goal here in 2020, really simple, 2X, okay? So check it out. If I double the amount of customers in the front door. Now for me, just so you know, my business funnel is super simple to understand. I mean, I'll be fully transparent about it. Here's what it is. People come to me from all kinds of sources. People come to me from books or social media, or they see me speak, which is basically my best lead source. Or they see me online someplace, or they read an article on LinkedIn. They come up to my list. They opt into my list. They sign up to come to my event. Okay, and for the ones that it's appropriate for, they end up doing one-on-one work with me. That's like the whole thing, okay? Now, if I do this, so think about it here on the math. This is really cool. Double quantity, double quality, double customers, what do you end up with? 8X. Think about that for a second. 8X. Okay, think just for a second. If you were making $100,000 last year, now you're making 800. If you made $1 million last year, now you're bringing in 8 million, right? I mean, think about this for a second. And most of the time when you get past about 5X, business owners can't even like fathom, oh my goodness, like I don't even like picture that. But think about that for a second. That's possible. All you need to do is make some little tweaks. By the way, that's one of the reasons why it's helpful to have somebody come in from the outside to look at your business to be able to go, no, do this, change this, and do this, okay? Customer getting this year, I'm focused this year on speaking. That's the reason why I'm focused on speaking events. I'm focused on doing Zoom meetings. You're going to see a bunch more of these, by the way. I've got a guy named Jonathan Sprinkles coming on in 2 weeks. Jonathan is a person who teaches business owners how to connect best with their customers. This guy is the best speaker I know, and I'm not even kidding you. He is amazing, all right? John's coming to my event to speak. I got Bill Glazer, who's like my marketing mentor, coming on to talk about outrageous advertising. I've got Michael Haig, my buddy, my screenwriting coach up in Hollywood. I'm bringing these people before you because I want to teach you different ways of approaching and getting customers so that you can 2X this year, because we're going to dial it in this year, okay? All right, sweet. Yes, Mike Semmel. I was talking about you, man. I was actually talking about you with Mike Koenigs just as we joined. Mike and Mike were up at CES, Computer Electronics Show. And by the way, Mike Koenigs, you're coming on in about 10 minutes, buddy. I'm going to get you on early, okay? All right, number 4, I'm going to move through these quickly. Number 4 is building the perfect team, okay? When you build a team, here's what happens. Most entrepreneurs build a team, they work more because you got like a bunch more emails and you're talking to a bunch more people. When you build the perfect team, right? Okay, when you build it around a strategic person like a COO or a CEO, that's not you, you actually work less. Okay, so let me just explain it this way. Most business owners, when they build a team, put themselves in the middle, hopefully you can see that down there, and build everyone around them. That's the structure of most businesses. So when they get busy, they add another person, but now they're adding another communication stream. And of course, all these people are talking to each other, right? And as they're talking to each other, you're getting busier and busier and busier. And you go to Monday morning, you got 250 emails in your inbox, okay? Look, you build a perfect team like this. This is you, the entrepreneur. This is someone else underneath you, COO, CEO, project manager, team, boom, builds around him or her. That's the way it works. If you have an assistant, that's them. That's the only other person that you're direct with, right there. Video person, social media, web person, sales team, marketing team, boom, all the way underneath here. Okay, I don't have time to go in deep on that. I can teach that for 2 days. Okay, that's how you build a team. Number 5 on your business plan, I'm moving fast, is time management. 2020, or excuse me, 2019, not an exaggeration, by the way. I worked, hold on, I'm going to switch cameras. Hang on. All right. There we go. Okay, so this is 2019. I worked an average of 2.5 days a week. Okay, had a fine year. And part of the reason why is because of systematically building this right here, but especially the team. Okay, so there's a way to manage this so that you get a lot more done in a lot less time, have a lot more peace, tons more freedom. Okay, so big picture overview on the business plan, by the way. Douglas says, good stuff. I've got enough to keep me busy already for the next year. I love that, man. All right, really quickly, I just want to mention, Long asked about the spring event, and I'm just going to throw this out. This is a small part of what I had written down for today, and I'll do this in about 4 minutes or less. But let me just tell you, I did an event in October called The Ultimate Speaker. It was by far, blow you away, the best event I've done, and I've done some really good events, okay? And the people who are here on chat can probably tell you, it was beginning to end how to build a speaking business that pays you a lot of money, that you have a blast sharing your message. I cover everything from how to build the perfect speech, how to be funny on stage, even if you're not, how to tell great stories, how to overcome stage fright and the fear of speaking. I'm not exaggerating when I tell you, I did this segment. I could help you. I could help you completely eliminate stage fright in about 4 minutes. Okay. And I did this segment at the event and it happened. Right. So people are out there now speaking, feeling great about it simply because of the tools. Inside of the event, I also teach you my 4 main ways to make money as a speaker. There's speak and get paid checks. That's like keynote and inspirational speaking. There's speak and sell products where you get paid for the products that you create. There's speak and get coaching or advising or consulting clients, which I think is the most lucrative way to speak. And then there's speak and offer your books. And in each of those 4 at this event, I build a talk for you and then give you all of the tools like my presentations and my forms and my scripts and my agreements, everything. You got it all sitting right there in a binder so that you've got all of the tools available. Steve says, yeah, super great event in October. Jean-Michel said it was the best. Malika says it was a great event. So here's what I'm going to do real quick. I'm going to show you, I actually just did a complete redo on the page, and I'm going to scroll through this real quick, and I'm going to show you that you get a really cool deal. Okay, so there's the top of the page. Right at the top, you see something that says $60,000 guarantee. Here's what this means. My guarantee to you is come to the event, attend all 3 days, implement at least 2 of the things that I teach, which I'm going to teach you about 500 things, okay? Implement about 2 of the things. If over the next year, check it out, you don't make an extra $60,000 in your business because of what you learned, you can have not only a full refund, but I think if I remember, it's a double your money back. So whatever you paid, I give you twice back, okay? So that includes your airfare and everything like that too. So this event is April 23rd to the 25th. This is the page that you go to. By the way, Delisa, just throw the link in the chat. It's theultimatespeaker.com. Here are the 4 things. Oh, by the way, this is my celebrity speaker, Michael Haig, who is Will Smith's screenwriting coach. All the information is sitting here on the page. This is the things, the modules. Part 1, how to build the perfect speech. Part 2, how to be funny on stage, even if you're not. Part 3, how to get paid checks for keynote or instructional speaking. Part 4, how to get coaching, consulting, spin-off business. Part 5, how to ethically and congruently sell more products. Part 6, how to sell more books. Part 7, how to instantly eliminate stage fright and connect with any audience. Part 8, how to build your platform, website, social media, and more. Really important segment, by the way. I give you a ton of examples and resources in there. And then finally, I give you what I call the speaking treasure trove, which is all my agreements, scripts, forms, outlines, binder, and everything involved. There's a bunch of extra bonuses in here as well, but check this out. There's 2 options, right? One is general admission. The other one is VIP. GA is $497, and that's the price it's going to. Right now it's at $197 because I haven't changed it from when we set the website up after the event back in October. This was for returning people, by the way. This is what the people who were at my event that wanted to come again paid. That's the reason why the prices are on here. And then a VIP is $397. So like regular general admission is going to go higher than the current VIP is. All right. Like I said, I haven't changed it. I am getting ready to. I just built an entire marketing plan, and I'm telling you, it's like 10 different marketing campaigns over the next 2 months. So here's the dealio. You will actually be saving me time and money when you enroll now. So if you wait 2 months, I'm going to put a bunch of money into sending you stuff in the mail and sending you stuff via email. Okay. But when you enroll now, I don't have to do all that for you. And it's actually going to save me time and money. So I'm going to pass it on to you. All right. It's $197 for GA. It's $397 for VIP. And by the way, if you enroll but then you find out later that you can't come. Let's say you get a speaking event or something like that on that weekend. Fine, let me know. We'll give you a refund. Like that's all. We can still be friends. You know, it's not that big of a deal. All right. So the event link is sitting right in chat. It's theultimatespeaker.com. Nicole said, Ed over delivers in this event, and Michael Hage's awesome bonus. It's good stuff. Shut off the phone and be present for the whole thing. Thank you. Warren says, Ultimate Speaker event in Dallas was absolutely awesome. So pleased look, Warren traveled all the way from Australia to come to the event. You're not even going to go that far, right? Michael Hage is not to be missed. All right, so here's the last deal that I'll make for you. I literally just made this up this morning because I figured I'd give you the bonus. In about 2 weeks, I'm going to do a big promotion where the first 5 or 10 people are going to get this special lunch, private lunch with Michael Hage and I on day 1. So here's the deal. First 10 people who enroll today, you're going to get the private lunch with me. In fact, holy moly, all of a sudden, a whole bunch of you just did enroll. Okay, so I'll make it the first 10 who enroll for the event. It's $197 or $397, which is an amazing deal. That price is going to go up. Plus, you'll get the private lunch with me and Michael Hage on day 1. Delisa, who is listening right now, she's my my main team member. And just keep track of the people, the first 10, and we'll get those enrolled. Let me just say welcome to a couple folks who just enrolled, by the way. Let's see. Amanda, welcome to the event. And Marianne, welcome. Cool. And I'll mention everybody else in just a second, but jump into the website and enroll. And if you have any questions, by the way, Long says, I wish I could make it. I have a training that 2 days, Saturday and Sunday. Bummer, man. Last time, by the way, I'm doing Ultimate Speaker. The next event in the fall, I'm almost definitely going to do an event on consulting and advising. So I do not plan on doing this event. I was actually only going to be doing it once in October, but I had so many people who said that they couldn't make the October event that I scheduled one in April because I had probably 5 or 10 people who enrolled that all of a sudden couldn't make it, and I just pushed their enrollment into April. So I promised to do another one, and it's going to be awesome. It'll be in Dallas. All right, in just 2 minutes, Mike Koenigs, I'm going to bring you up. Some things I haven't covered, which I will. By the way, Mike's going to come on and talk about tech stuff, and there is nobody better in the world. Like when I asked this whole studio I created, these lights and everything, this is all, I call Mike. I'm like, hey, man, what's the gear that I want? So not only is he just an amazing advisor to businesses, doing really high-end work right now, he's also like just an incredible brain when it comes to the tech stuff. So I asked Mike to come on and teach. Catherine says, I attended previously and have 3 people who want to attend in April. Can they still get the lower price? Yes. Have them go through that page, Catherine, and register. That's really low. And if you want some kind of package deal, email support@edrush.com and we'll take care of you. Elaine says, amazing event. Love the quality workbook. Oh, yeah, you get this big manual. I mean, it's like 200 pages thick. It's got all my scripts and forms and agreements, but you also have an outline for the entire event. So you fill in the blanks and take notes and stuff. It's a blast. All right, let's see. Mike, you ready to go, man? Let me see if I can hold on a second. There he is.
I sure am.
You, sir. So let me just finish the introduction to Mike. Mike and I have known each other for about 12 years. We started at a Glazer Kennedy event, like way back when he was launching a product and selling about a $2,000 product every minute, I think, at this little bar that we were hanging out at. And we became really good friends, started working together. We worked together for about 5 years, created some great products and did some amazing events. And Mike is off helping some really big players in the world right now. I'm obviously off doing events, but every once in a while we get together for lunch and like figure out how to change the world. And so when I decided to do the predictions in honor of the prediction master and the guy that I learned how to do predictions from, for crying out loud. So Mike, take it over. I know you got a client in town, but the floor is yours, and we'll come back in maybe 10 or 15 minutes and then just chat a little bit. And then I'm going to come back, by the way, I'm going to come right back in and tell you what's going to happen in the presidential election. I'm going to make it a marketing point out of that as well. So, all right, go for that, Mike.
All right. Well, thank you, Ed. I love you. And hi, everyone. Really good to see some good friends from the past here. And I see everyone, a lot of folks from Mastermind, et cetera, et cetera. So Patty and Pat and Nabi, Mike, I just came back from CES, as Ed said. And what I'm going to do is share a couple things with you. Some of this is going to be what happened at CES, but also kind of a bigger, broader approach to what I believe is happening worldwide in the world of technology. So what I'll do is share a little bit, share my screen. And of course, if you have some questions, feel free to post them. I will definitely make comments. I see Jen and Catherine and Lori and Heidi's here. So first of all, let me just start out by saying there's a big thing going on, which our core institutions in the world are being dematerialized, digitized, automated, and rendered obsolete. I believe we live in the time, an era where everything around us is practically extinct. And there's nothing to be afraid about this. It's just a world trend. So I think government and political leaders worldwide, obsolete. Our systems are broken. Media, news, and social media, obsolete, broken, irrelevant now. Education and transportation, the same. And then banking, money, and Wall Street, our healthcare system, and we can go on and on. So what does it mean? I think the biggest things that we used to know and trust don't serve us as humanity. And what this really means is there's massive opportunities for those who know how to leverage and take advantage of the most important things. To me, it's a personal brand or a business brand. It's something that has eternal value. And I just heard yesterday, I was with a very, very wealthy friend of mine, and with him was another guy who's worth several $100 million. And right now, investors are investing in negative instruments, meaning they are investing in things that pay negative interest because they believe the economy is going to tank. And they're going to make money on the fact that they're going to make more money selling stuff that's negative because it's going to even get worse. Now, I'm not a professional economist, but I do know that in the world right now, there's so much cash available. There's so much wealth. There's so much abundance that it's hard to get a return on your money except on yourself. So that's really just to frame this and tell you why I think what I'm going to share with you at CES is so important. So back to the screen. The key things, again, are digitization and dematerialization. What's that mean? Your mobile phone replaces just about every gadget that's out there. There's emerging tech, that's AI, which is artificial intelligence, ML, machine learning, AR, augmented reality, VR, virtual reality, and IoT, or Internet of Things. I'll explain some of those when I show you some of these images, but artificial intelligence is everywhere right now. That's, again, what we call emerging technology. And IoT, sensors. Next are displays. You know, nowadays we've got 1080p and 4K, 8K displays. We're all over the place at CES. I'll explain why that's important. Also, transportation. China is affected. Last point before I get into the picture show here. One thing that Mike Semmel and I noticed when we were at the event, and there he is, I'll put him on the screen. So we were together at CES yesterday walking the floor, and we spent about a day and a half together wandering around. But there were fewer people there, and a lot of Chinese companies were missing because of the tariffs. I happen to believe that China is, by and large, an evil, has a very evil government, more evil than most. And what we're doing right now, the United States and other countries, penalizing them with tariffs, et cetera. Again, this is not necessarily a political conversation. It's an economics one. We are hurting them and their currency, and China is propped up with a lot of fake currency. So what we're doing is dramatically affecting them, and it showed up at the event. But back to the pictures here. I'm going to just go through each one of these and explain what we're looking at and why they're important. And I think for you. So first of all, this is something that was called the wall. That is a massive display, and display technology has reached a point where they can make screens of an almost infinite size, and they can be any resolution. But more importantly, a signal can get pushed into a screen, and artificial intelligence looks at it and can make it look better than real life. So for example, if you had recordings that were recorded years ago with VHS tape, for example, that's 240 lines of resolution. If you have a 4K display, it's 4,000 dots across by 2880 up and down. A lot of dots. 8K is 8,000 dots across by, I don't know, 5,000 and something, whatever it is. So the AI looks at it and makes it look amazing. It fills in the blanks because it's super smart. Well, that's what happens with like a VHS tape. So again, things are starting to look better than real life. And what you're going to start seeing more and more are displays everywhere. Here's another one that was mind blowing, but LG is now doing, here we go. I'm going to do optimize. There we go. So they've got displays that actually roll up and down. So I'll start this again. So that little thing, it's sort of like they'll have displays that can go up and down into a little, yeah, it's just like a window shade. Really, really impressive technology. Here's another one that I was looking at. Again, displays everywhere. Where they're making these displays. So those are cubes that are treated like computer monitors to just get attention. And we're already seeing this more and more. But again, they're so lifelike, and there's displays you can look through as well at the show. Here's another one I'm actually wearing. So wearables are another thing. So you're going to see clothing with displays built into them. This is just a hat I was wearing. Perfect tool for Burning Man. And then finally, these are flat screen displays that you can buy. They're addressable. And that one actually looked like fire, and it was on a horse body. But again, really fascinating stuff in display world. Now here's another one. This is artificial intelligence, and I need to frame this up for you because when I talked about dematerialization, here's what's occurring. Amazon has a service called AWS. That's where a lot of servers these days are in the cloud and data's in the cloud. And it basically means you can do or set up a computer system and rent time on it from Amazon for pennies. And they've got artificial intelligence, quantum computers, machine learning, Internet of Things gadgets. So you could take a really, really cheap display, let's say a camera, mount it somewhere, and plug in a service from Amazon, which is super easy to set up. And it could look at cars going by and know what kind of car it is and what kind of year it is and start gathering data about that. You can set up little sensors that would measure all kinds of readings, temperature, light, fluctuations, all sorts of behavior, plug that into the cloud, and the computers are so smart, it starts analyzing the data and figuring out patterns that humans can't see, but recording it over long periods of time. This is happening everywhere, all over the world, and again, creating massive opportunities. So I'm going to show you an example of a really interesting artificial intelligence solution. And this is the kind of technology that's used for automotives today, or cars. So for example, in a new Tesla, the self-driving one, it knows what is a person, it knows what is a stoplight, it knows what's a cone, it knows what's another car or a truck, and it avoids it. Well, at CES, there were technologies that they specialize in these plug-in components and tools that can just be rented. So just about anyone now, not anyone, but people can build all kinds of technology based on this. So here I am, I'm standing, and this is recognizing me as I walk by. And this is some guy standing in front of a simple camera and moving around, and it knows he's there. And in this particular case, they're kind of showing like a game. But again, this is technology that's available for anyone to rent. So again, what does this mean for the rest of the world and technology-minded professionals? Well, it means everything around you is soon going to have artificial intelligence and machine learning built in. It's going to make the world a safer place. In some cases, it's scary because we know we're being monitored, and China's abusing that. But this is not a this or that black and white kind of a world we live in. There's a lot of beautiful applications that ultimately are going to make the world a safer, healthier place. Right now, the world, there's less poverty, more income, more money available, more abundance than ever before, despite what you hear in the media and the news. Okay, so next one that I want to show you. This was kind of interesting. This is a virtual reality ball that people were walking in. Now you might be able to see it, hopefully, but they stand inside this thing. They're wearing a virtual reality helmet, and two guys are actually exploring a world together. And while you're in it, it really feels real. And there are suits being made that provide something called haptic feedback. So you'll be able to feel if someone punches you or touches you. Now, why would this matter? It's because this kind of technology is being used in the medical world, for example. So doctors can train, they can do surgeries with instruments that feel real. They'll be able to get physical or haptic feedback. And again, it reduces risk. It accelerates the speed that we can learn and allows us to capture a lot more information a lot faster. Obviously, for the entertainment world, it's a big deal too. Another big thing that was really interesting this year is drone technology. So now in this particular one, some of the drones are getting really, really smart. So I'm holding it here. It's made out of a very lightweight material, carbon fiber, but the propellers are protected, and they can basically move around. And more what you're seeing in drone technology, I didn't grab a bunch of images this year, but the tech is getting so good that Hyundai and some other companies are making mobile transport systems, meaning Uber and Lyft are soon, you're going to be able to call, press a button, and this thing's going to fly into wherever you are, land, you'll jump into it, and it'll fly you from point A to point B. Now, before that happens, though, they're starting to use it already to move medical supplies, blood, and stuff like that, moving packages around. But again, the technology is so cheap, it's profound, and so smart too, and so safe. So lots of big changes and improvements coming there. So next item here that I have is robotics, of course. This was just a little slideshow, but they were showing robots that were walking from years ago. The robots are so smart now. They're engaging, they're interacting, and pretty soon you'll be able to, so here are some examples.
Like pull up your, I can see your whole desktop. Pull up just that video.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Thank you. Oh, wow. Sorry about that. I hope you didn't see anything kooky.
No, it wasn't like the Nigerian bank transfers or anything.
Oh my
like
God.
that,
Okay.
So.
Thank you. I appreciate that. All right. So,
hi, this is Bill Gates. I'm a hostage in Nigeria. Send me money. I think that was the email you were just responding to.
All right.
Sorry. Good.
Okay, good. Yeah. All right. Thank you. So this one here, that's RoboCup. All right. So I think I have a picture of a tractor, but John Deere was present this year, and they were showing off some of their tech, which were really smart tractors. They're connected to the cloud. Their sprayer arms are 50 feet on each side, and they're so smart that they see weeds and only spray a little bit of pesticide or herbicide instead of just blanketing an entire field. Now, no matter what you think about GMOs or ag or what's going on in the world, I'm a big supporter of responsible, sustainable farming, which hopefully will be a trend in the future. But without herbicides, pesticides, and GMOs at this moment, it's impossible to feed the world. And the technology, ultimately what this means by having artificial intelligence and machine learning and everything else built in is we are going to see a tremendous amount of additional production that's going to be safer and higher quality for humanity. This little device behind me, and I'll show it, is a walk-up gadget that looks at your skin, and you just put on a pair of UV glasses, you press a button, and it shows you in real time what your skin looks like in terms of skin damage, and hopefully you can see it there. And again, the sensor technology is getting so smart that just imagine being able to walk in, and they had all these little gadgets where you could put on sensors on your body and grab readouts. And very, very soon, they're going to be able to measure every fluid in your body. There's already blood monitoring devices that you can get. There's a little patch it puts on your arm and it works for 15 days. And it says continuous glucose information back to a gadget. All that can be aggregated through your iPhone or your Apple phone. And if there's any kind of a health concern, you're going to know about it, predicting disease and preventing it from happening before it even happens. So that would have been really useful for me a few years ago when I had cancer. And then one of the last things, couldn't help but put this in. It's a good way to kind of bring this home. This company is making retro games, super, super fun, but it mounts on your wall. It's like $150, and they've got all sorts of old school games built in. This is built on a platform called MAME, if you're a little bit of a nerd like me, but basically there's machine game or emulators of arcade games. But you can get pinball machines that are 100% digital that allow you to have like 800 or 1,000 different pinball games, thousands of different old video games. But the world of gaming is helping advance technology and machine learning as well. Again, super excited about it. So maybe the best way to wrap this up, and if you've got any questions, Ed, my personal focus this year is a third of my time on income, a third doing media, a third on freedom, something I call cash flow investing and advisory, much like you, focusing on podcasting, television and media, family, health, and travel. And what I wanted to bring this home to and just say, go to events. The best way to build and grow your business is do things like what Ed is putting on with his Ultimate Speaker event. Attending events are all about increasing your capabilities, your skills, and more importantly, your relationships and your connections. And Ed's a master at doing that, and he really is a great leader, and he knows how to add massive value. So Ed, I'm done on my side. If you've got any questions or anything that you want clarity on, I know I zipped through it really fast, but I'm all yours.
That was awesome. Always fun. Really cool comments, by the way. A lot of like, this is scary, but also exciting kind of comments. The skin thing is amazing, by the way. You think about, it got me thinking about, you made a comment. Actually, you made two different comments that I'm going to connect. About halfway through, you said we have more abundance and more prosperity now than we ever did. So I was talking to somebody who is, it was an assistant pastor at my church, actually. And she's a very sort of like, we're running out of everything. And I was like, yeah, but like 200 years ago, it was hard to get water. And now we like pee in water, you know? And she's like, oh, that's actually a good point. You know, you think about it that
and
way.
Actually, that is a absolute and total lie. This whole thing of we're running out of everything. Remember, we're in a closed ecosystem. Nothing's being created nor destroyed. It's all there. It always has been.
You just had to read Dune, basically.
Yeah, but what is happening is, I think it was Michael Pollan, his book, and he gets into the science and the hard data. 60 years ago, 40% of the population of the planet was in extreme poverty. Now it's under 5%.
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
Okay? The number of babies dying in childbirth is minimal. All of this stuff we hear from a media perspective, and I have I hate all political parties, just for the record. I think they're all completely full of crap and completely obsolete. They're ugly, extinct phantasms. Having said that, all of this nonsense, just remember the media now has had to sell its soul. They don't deliver news anymore. They manipulate in order to create clickbait and get attention, and they make their money by sending crazy messages out there. And unfortunately, the evil social media companies that we have right now, Facebook being just as bad as China as far as I'm concerned, propagate this, and they refuse to do the right thing. And so we live in some scary times, like whoever it was said this a moment ago in the comment, but I agree. But when you look at the abundance it creates, we live in a much better and a much safer world overall.
It's amazing. And the thing that stops it go back to the medical stuff, the skin thing, the thing that slows it all down, back to the thing you said about the parties. Any country where there's a massive bureaucracy, everything slows down. So it just goes to show it is time. I'm going to talk about our country in a second, but it is time for a reboot to get things moving a little bit quicker at the governmental level. By the way, there's a book that you just reminded me of, and I can't remember the name of it, but the subtitle is Confessions of a Media Manipulator. Ryan Holiday, I think is the guy's name, but he basically wrote about how the entire media is now designed to get you to click and to share something you're upset about, basically. So
yeah, it's outrage culture is.
Yeah, that's good. That's good, man. It just reminds me, Mike, we need to do this a little more often. But I know you've got a client coming into town. So listen, man, I love you and I like you. We need to hook up and grab a bite sometime. But I really appreciate you coming on. Thanks for the time, and I know everybody really appreciated it. Oh, it's called Patty Thor just put it. The book's called "Trust Me, I'm Lying." So anyway,
yeah,
Mike, thank you for your time. Really appreciate you, man. God bless, bud.
Same. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Right,
Love you.
yeah.
See you, everyone.
All right, cool. Thank you, Mike Koenigs, my man. All right, so we're back on topic. I've got a few other things to talk about. The book that I just said, by the way, is called Trust Me, I'm Lying. Nabi says, Mike. Irene says, thank you, Mike. Lane says, thank you, Mike. By the way, another great book. It's Ready Player One. It's a fiction book, but it just gives you such an interesting insight into the digital culture that we are in right now. All right, so I am going to jump back in, and I'm going to move fairly quickly into 3 other topics. And then I'm going to take your questions. By the way, I've got a couple really great questions that have already been inserted in there. In a minute, I'm going to tell you definitively who's going to win the 2020 presidential election. And depending on who you are, you might like it, you might not. But I'm just going to tell you the way it is. I'm just going to tell you the way it is. Okay? So, and if you're in a position to influence the parties, then go fix it, make the problem go away. Really quickly though, before I do that, I'm going to, let me give you my stock prediction, because I'll do that one. I'll do that one quickly. Let me just shift over to the cameras and jump in. And by the way, oh man, I should mention this. A whole bunch of you jumped in and decided to invest in the Ultimate Speaker event. You did a really good thing, and it was a smart idea because the price is going up. All right, so I'll just mention a few. I lost some of the emails, but Tamika and Malika, awesome job. Looking forward to seeing you there. Linda, looking forward to seeing you there as well. And a couple others. Douglas, you asked which event to come to. Come in April. The skills that you get, I'm going to talk about consulting and coaching, but the skills that you get on the speaking side are going to be huge. And by the way, Douglas, in the time when Mike was speaking, I went and checked out your security website. And I'm very interested in what you do. Very interested. I've got one of the world's leading HIPAA consultants actually who's on this, who's a client of mine. But security is super interesting to me, and I've got some thoughts for you already. All right. So back to this really quickly. Let's just talk about the market. And I'll go there. It's going to take me just a couple minutes, and then I'll jump into the presidential election. So let's just talk about the stock market. So first of all, let me just say, I am not an investment advisor, and I'm not giving you investment advice. If you follow my own investments, I've had just as many failures as successes. So this is what I do for a living. I'm going to tell you what I'm seeing, and then you can make your decisions based on that. But I'll just start with this. The first thing is our market is actually in very bad shape. I would go so far as to call it sick. Okay. Price to earnings ratios are higher now than they ever were before. What that means is that the stock market is overvalued. The second thing you need to know is there's about $1 trillion in student debt. Now, do you remember in 2008 when the stock market crashed based on real estate, on the boosting of the real estate market? My opinion, the next big correction down in the stock market is going to be going to be triggered by student loan defaults. Okay, there's over $1 trillion in business debt out there, over $1 trillion in consumer debt. First time in the history of our country where it's been this way. Now, there's something that you do need to know, which is back in January of 2018, the current administration, along with Congress, passed a business tax change. It used to be that the business tax rate was 35%. Now, I'm not sure where you are on the issue of taxes. That's very high. Internationally, across the board, from country to country, that is extremely high. And they took it down to 21%, right? The difference between those two is 14%. So what happened was every single corporation in America that pays taxes got a 14% raise in 2018. So my opinion and my opinion only, the market was actually getting ready to go right about the spring of 2018. But all of a sudden now, there's a 14% increase in every single business. Those companies began reinvesting dividends. Those companies began hiring, okay? And because of that, because money always moves, when you give money, typically back to corporations, the money starts to move and the economy typically gets better, okay? So my opinion, and my opinion only, is this held off for a little while the correction that's basically necessary inside of the market. Okay, so this is my prediction. September is when you're going to see the big move, okay? And I will tell you that historically, before big contested elections, especially elections where there is a person who is dependent upon the economy to win, that people start to pull money out. So in 2008, someone pulled $1 trillion out of the United States stock market. In September of 2008, stock market went down. John McCain was running against Barack Obama at the time, and Obama won, not, by the way, just because of the crash, but helped certainly a lot by that. So my prediction is if you're going to see the big move, it's going to come right in September. And by the way, if you own Bitcoin or gold, Bitcoin and gold move opposite. By the way, Bitcoin moves all the way just because Bitcoin's small enough at this point where people can take a lot out and they can move fairly quickly. Okay, so Bitcoin goes up and down, but Bitcoin and gold move opposite of the market often. So if you see a big market correction down, Bitcoin goes up. All right, cool. Yeah, the Dow hit 29,000. I know. Frank Lies, financial advisor to the stars, is on here. He might say something different, but that's okay. Now, the moment you've all been waiting for. I am going to talk right now, and I'm going to tell you who's going to win the 2020 presidential election. Now, before I do that, I just need to qualify this by just saying this, okay? First of all, I'm not a Republican, and I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a conservative. I'm not a liberal. I'm not a progressive. I'm not a centrist. I'm not a moderate. I said in the beginning, I've chosen to be able to base my belief systems based on what I think is moral, right, and just on each individual issue. So when it comes to the issues, I actually move quite a bit depending on the issue. So for example, when it comes to something like taxes, which I just mentioned right there, I think for the most part, the government is not a very good steward of your money. So if you want to help, for example, a cause, I think it's better for you as an entrepreneur to take your $10,000 and help a cause than it is to give it to the government. And by the time they go help somebody, your $10,000 is turned into $500, right? Okay, so I might be a little bit more, fiscally low tax, but at the same time, when it comes to things like some social issues, for example, or immigration, I'm typically a little bit less, right? So there's issues that I've chosen to use my mind on in completely different ways. Now, if talking about politics is difficult for you, and you're the kind of person that gets angry every time someone talks about politics, maybe the next 5 minutes isn't for you, okay? Because I'm going to talk openly about the parties and about some of the decisions that the parties are making on both sides that will inform this election. Now, some of you know, for some time I've been considering actually putting my name in the hat when it comes to the 2020 presidential election. I am, by the way, working very hard behind the scenes, trying to build and start a completely different kind of political party, one without all the anger and without all the division and the divisiveness. If you want to learn more about that, go to edrush2020.com or go to Ed Talks on YouTube. The first 3 Ed Talks, I lay out the entire thing when it comes to that. And at some point, I plan on taking my whole army of people and transforming government. That's not just the White House, by the way. That's 400 people that I plan on being in local and national offices, people of good moral character, of quality of mind, that aren't part of this like partisan anger and bitterness, okay? Because the truth is, it doesn't matter what side, both of the sides, it's like my 2 boys. I have a 12-year-old and 11-year-old. They fight all the time. You know what I mean? They're always angry and like bashing into each other. And every time, every fight, it's not just one person's fault. It's both of the knuckleheads that are bashing into each other. Okay, so look, it's both of the parties' fault. They're bashing into each other. Like at some point in our nation, we stopped talking about things and we just started yelling at each other on social media. It doesn't need to be that way. Okay, look, there are solutions out there that we can come up with that aren't on the current political scale. And I don't have time to like give you my entire diatribe on that one, but I'm going to just start with this. Okay, so I want you to see the screen because I'm going to talk. I'm just going to talk for a minute from a communication and persuasion standpoint. Okay, now I want you to see this. Thank you, Douglas. We may not survive until you can get your program. I'm going to get it, dude. We're working on it, man. I got a plan. I just can't talk about it right now for reasons you'll see soon. Robert, we need to transform our government without a doubt. Tired of the hate and ideological agendas instead of what's the right thing to do. I'm with you. Okay, now I want you to look at your screen. This is a picture that was taken about a year ago when they were fighting over Obamacare, or sorry, when they were fighting over. It says here. It says on the bottom of Obamacare, but really it's the Affordable Care Act. And you have Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, who are standing next to a sign that says, "Make America Sick Again." Now, the small print says the Republican plan to cut Medicare and Medicaid and the ACA will make America sick again, from affordable care to chaos. Okay. So I want you to look at this for a moment. And I want you to take off your political glasses. I know that can be difficult, but if you spend any time with me, it gets easier. Okay, I want you to just look at this for a second. And I want you to, some of you think that Nancy Pelosi is like the most wonderful person in the world, and Chuck Schumer. And some of you think that they're like the second coming of, Hitler or whatever. By the way, they're neither. Okay, they're elected representatives. They're both doing their best, I believe. And they may be sincere, but they may be sincerely wrong. All I want you to do is look at this from a persuasion and communication perspective. This is dumb on 1,000 different levels. Why, in heaven's name, would you stand next to a sign that says "Make America Sick Again"? I know that they're making fun of the president, but from a simple optics standpoint, why would you stand next to a sign that says "Make America Sick Again"? Okay, now I'm going to just tell you this. That little picture right there. Jean-Michel says there are many people that feel the same way, but we have no. We're gonna get there, dude. So that picture right there describes the biggest mistake right now that the Democratic Party is making. Okay, I'm just going to be clear about this. I'm not approaching this in a partisan way. I'm approaching this from a marketing standpoint. And let me tell you, when it comes to marketing and communication, I'm one of the best in the world. Okay, so I'm just telling you, I know what I'm saying when it comes to this. This is something in the business world that doesn't sell. Okay, not something doesn't sell. Okay, so for example, I can't come onto a webcast and be like, "Hey, guess what? I'm going to teach you how not to be broke," right? Not broke doesn't inspire people. It doesn't get you excited, right? I can't be like, "Hey, guess what? On my next training, I'm going to tell you how not to be fat." Not fat doesn't sell, okay? Because from a mental standpoint, the image that you put in someone's mind is broke, is fat. If I say, "Hey, I'm going to teach you how to not be broke," you think about being broke. That's the way the subconscious mind works, right? I can't give you like, my relationship system teaches you how to not be divorced. Nobody wants to not be divorced. They want to have an amazing, vibrant relationship. That's the benefit. That's the good side, okay? I'm telling you right now, if I was a consultant, okay, to the Democratic Party, the biggest issue that they have right now is the campaign push is a not something. Okay, look, I do not agree with everything the president does, but I don't disagree with everything the president does either, right? There's actually some things like the tax thing that I thought, hey, that's a really good idea. Right after that, like right after the tax thing last year, they passed a $1.1 trillion omnibus spending bill. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. We've got $21 trillion in national debt, and you're going to add another trillion with a bunch of foreign aid going to places I don't even know how to pronounce the name of the country. Okay, so like literally simultaneously, I'm like, hey, good job. Whoa, that was ridiculous. Like in the same week, I had something I agreed with and something I disagreed with. And as a grown, mature adult, you should be able to do the same thing. Okay, so now I'm taking a look back at 25,000 feet at what's happening currently in the presidential race. And the presidential race is a race right now on the Democratic side of who can be more about not something. And I'm telling you, that doesn't work, okay? Their best candidate dropped out of the race. Their second best candidate is getting hit now by the Democratic Party. The party itself, by the way, it's the way that Democratic Party is built, okay, is different in terms of the way that they elect their nominee. It's an older and slower and more archaic system, and I can tell you that their best candidates are gone. Now, I want you to imagine for a minute. I'm going to get to the prediction in a second, but I want you to imagine for a minute. This is really important. To understand the United States of America when it comes to the parties, you need to understand this. I want you to imagine right now a 67-year-old, older white man who lives in Boston. For the last 5 years, he's driven a cab. For the 30 years before that, he worked as a sheet metal worker, okay? Guy's always been a Democrat his entire life. He's always voted for Democrats. I'm talking about like when he was like 21 years old, Bobby Kennedy, man, John Kennedy. Those were like when he grew up in that party. And it was a party that connected with him on labor, right? It was a party that connected with him on American values. And at this point, that 67-year-old is looking at the party of not something right now, and it's like, I don't feel as connected. I don't feel connected to this party. And I'm telling you, this is a major issue. And if you look demographically, this in 2016, it started in West Virginia. It started in West Virginia. It's beyond, okay, look, Joe Biden 2 weeks ago said, I know that the coal miners are having an issue, but they have to understand that they need to learn to code. That's literally what he said. Now, that might be true. It probably isn't, by the way. It might be true, but you don't say that to your constituency. Okay, so let me just get to it. Without this changing, in 2020, the person who gets elected president, his name starts with a D and his last name starts with a T. Okay? It's going to happen. And I'm telling you, look, we are working behind, my team and I are working behind the scenes, and we've got some stuff that you're going to see very soon. Okay? But if this continues in this direction, there's only two things that will stop this. Number one, three things. Number one, a celebrity candidate. If Oprah, Tom Hanks, Michelle Obama, somebody like that come out, okay, that changes the game completely. Number two, major economic collapse, right? You have a president that's built his foundation on economic, okay? And number three, a major scandal. Now, I'm going to go, and let's talk about scandal for a second, okay? Because we should talk about this, the impeachment, all right? Now, I'm going to cover the impeachment only from a marketing perspective. I'm not going to cover it from who did what, or did this happen, or should he be impeached, or was this a high crime or misdemeanor? I'm going to let you think through that stuff on your own. I'm going to cover it from a marketing perspective. I've talked to Americans all over the place when it comes to this, and I ask them questions and listen to the answers instead of forcing my own thoughts upon them, okay? Here's what I've found across the country. People don't get it. They don't understand, okay? Now, there's people who hate Donald Trump who are like, yeah, we need to get rid of that guy. And there's people who love him who, if he like shot Kanye West in the White House, they'd be like, yeah, he's playing 3D chess. Okay, look, that's the polarization side. But the average person doesn't understand. What did he do that is the thing that they're impeaching him for? They don't understand. Why? Because the complexities of foreign aid, because the complexities of the discussion, they don't understand that there's investigations that were going on. They don't understand what an IG is, okay? They don't get it, okay? So from a marketing perspective, again, we're talking about this stuff like grown adults, right? I'm just telling you, don't get mad at me. If you're a Democrat, look, I think you're amazing, right? Okay, look, I agree with you on a whole bunch of different things, but don't be so tribal as to not be able to see the marketing problem behind this, okay? In business, simple sells. Come to the event in April. You're going to learn how to build a talk, how to be funny, how to make money as a speaker, and how to grow your brand. That's simple. Those are 5 or 4 simple benefits, okay? So as a marketer, you need to be able to communicate what you do in benefits. Boom, boom, boom. Oh, that makes sense. I'm going to be able to be more persuasive. I'm going to be able to make money. I'm going to maybe get paid for keynote speeches. I'm going to get all the ads, forms, and agreements and scripts and stuff like that. Look, Michael, I'm going to answer your question. The best candidate, I'm not even kidding you, the best, he said, who are the best Democratic candidates? The candidate who had the most chance at beating Donald Trump was Kamala Harris. Boom. She was gone 2 weeks ago. Ran a horrible campaign, by the way. It was not completely on the, it was not a very well-run campaign. Didn't have this, frankly. It didn't have like, oh, I get it. Like, I get it. I get who you are. Okay, so this isn't simple. Go back to the Bill Clinton impeachment. Whatever you thought about that, everyone knew, oh, he had some sexual relations with somebody in the White House, and then he may have lied about it. That was simple, okay? And I'm not taking a side there, who was right or who was wrong or whatever. Look, I think Bill Clinton was a good president, frankly. And I look back on a lot of the things he was one of the most centrist. He balanced the budget, for crying out loud, okay? Either way, that was simple. This isn't, okay? So, man. Woo! All right, so questions on that. Roy says, I suggest you read a book called Factfulness. It spells out a lot of what has been said so far. Rob says, we need to transform our government without a doubt. Tired of the hate and ideological agendas instead of what is right. And Douglas, we will survive until we get there. Trust me, it's going to happen. Okay, so if I was an advisor to the Democratic Party, here's what I would do. I'd say, what do you believe in, man? Like, what kind of American values are you going to bring back up to the table, right? Don't give me left 6%. Don't give me right 6%. Give me this thing that I can hold my hat to, right? Traditionally, it's been, hey, Republicans are like, all they do is help corporations. But what about the little guy? You know, like, what about the laborer who's just trying to like work over here? What about the 67-year-old guy in Boston? You know, but it can't be not something. It's got to be about something. It's got to be about the hope or the freedom, you know, or the American dream, or working for being a spokesman for the people who don't have a spokesman, right? That's what I would do if I was consulting them. I'm not consulting either one of them. I'm consulting myself. So, and guys, let me just tell you, there's just a whole bunch of stuff I can't talk about right now. And I'm sorry I can't, but I will soon. All right? So shoot, come in April, I guarantee you I'll be talking about it in April. In fact, I'm going to do an entire session on the third day about that. All right. Simple sells is absolutely correct, says Dan. What was Trump's 2016 slogan? What was Clinton's? Yes, gosh, it's so true. By the way, whether you like Make America Great Again or not, and the branding on the hats, it was awful, red and the font and everything, but you knew what it was. You know what it was. And Clinton's changed, by the way. It was On With Her, and there was a whole bunch of other stuff. Longley says, I missed the beginning. Will I be able to get access to the recording? Ask my team that. I'm not making one available, but they may be able to get you one. All right. I got one more to cover, and then I promised that I would cover some of your questions. And bam, are we having fun. I got about 20 minutes, by the way, so hang with me. We're having fun. Go register for that event. By the way, theultimatespeaker.com. Delisa, throw the link in there one more time. Let me see if I got anybody else that just jumped in. Probably did. Who's coming to lunch? I've got I got 5 or 6 people that are already coming to lunch with me, and I said I would max it out at 10. So we got a couple more spots if you want to do this. Okay, so that's 2020. Let me just do this last one. And this is like the most business of the top of all the topics. This is what I call death of social media. All right. Let me just explain what's going to happen over the next year to year and a half when it comes to social media. Okay, first of all, there is a growing underscored national malaise when it comes to social. You felt it, right? I guarantee you, your time on social media over the last 6 to 8 months has actually gone down. There's people now who are taking a week or 2 weeks off of social media just to get off of it. There's people who are influencers and thought leaders who are publicly saying, hey, I'm off of Facebook now. I'm off of Instagram now. I'm off of Twitter. I'm going to go live a lot of those people get back, by the way. Okay. Even among the youth, by the way, parents are more educated now, and parents are teaching their kids a little bit younger about some of the dangers when it comes to social media. So in general, I think you're going to start to see fairly significant decreases. Now, this started to happen on Facebook about 3 years ago. About 2.5 years ago, Mark Zuckerberg started selling about 5 $10 million a day of his stock. He has to say publicly why, because it's a publicly traded company. He said because he wanted to put money into his charity. I was like, no, it's because page time's down. And sure enough, 6 months later, Facebook announced that the page news feed time had gone down by 25%. And in that moment, their stock started to go down. Now, at the same time, they were acquiring and growing Instagram, all right? And they were making some of the same changes on Instagram that they were. But I'm here to tell you, Instagram's not that much farther behind. Now, there are different reasons to be on Instagram. And I told you in the email for this that I was going to tell you the 1.5 social medias that you want to focus on. I'm going to tell you that in just a second. The half one, by the way, is Instagram. Okay, so let's do that. Let me just tell you the 1.5. First of all, for the most part, I think the single most important and most powerful social media for a business owner is on LinkedIn. Now, that's market specific. So if you have a market where you like sell dog food or something like that, it's, you're over on Facebook and Instagram. But when it comes to actual business, for the most part, LinkedIn is the place. Now, I don't have time to teach LinkedIn. There's 3 things you need on LinkedIn. Great profile, good connections, great content. LinkedIn is right now doing a beta on live streaming video. I just applied to be one of the testers. I've got 92 connections on LinkedIn, so I think they're gonna approve it to me. And I'm gonna start testing and trying live streaming video on LinkedIn, which has never been used at all. Now, the difference between LinkedIn and Facebook, Instagram is LinkedIn's owned by Microsoft, Facebook, Instagram's owned by Facebook. Now, the thing that's happening on LinkedIn, if you're on LinkedIn and you go over to I should pull my LinkedIn up for crying out loud. If you go to LinkedIn and you type your messages, every 9 out of the 10 messages that are on the right-hand side there are promotions. Come to my event, come and do this, come and do that, come and do that. There's only so long that can happen before LinkedIn begins to throttle it. So my prediction, about 5 years ago on Facebook, what Facebook started to do is you used to be able to post 5 years ago. You could post on Facebook, everybody would see your post. Post on Facebook, everybody would see your post. Post on Facebook, everybody would see your post. Then Facebook started throttling your posts down based on interaction. More likes and shares and comments, the more people would see your post. Less people. So I have like 180,000 people on Facebook. I would post something. If people didn't like and share and comment, 100 people would see it. Like I'm 100, I got 180,000, right? But if people would like and share and comment, a lot more would see it. About 3 years ago, Facebook said, hey, look, if you're not paying us money, no one's going to see it. So now as a business owner, you got to post, boost the post for $5, $10, $20, then get likes, shares, comments, and then people will see it. Because even if you did pay, if they didn't like and share and comment, they wouldn't. Expect the same kind of changes on LinkedIn. I'm telling you, LinkedIn, because people are going to complain about the fact that the LinkedIn is becoming so promotional, and it's page time that these people get money for. This is going to be one of the biggest changes that you're going to see on LinkedIn over the year. Okay. So second one, Instagram. This is the one that's a half. Okay. It has limited business utility, depending on the market, high business utility. Okay. And I'm going to give you another half. I'm going to go back to Facebook for only 2 reasons. This is another half, by the way. 2 reasons to be on Facebook. Number 1, if you are an owner, okay, or a manager of an active group on Facebook, go for it, baby, okay? Or number 2, for retargeting. One of the more effective things I did this year is take my email list and retarget on Facebook. Here's what I mean by that. Somebody comes to my webpage and says, hey, I'm thinking about coming to Ed's Ultimate Speaker event. They go there, they get cookied by Facebook. When they go back to Facebook, they're sitting there on their newsfeed, and right on the right-hand side, there's an ad, or in their newsfeed, there's an ad for my event that they just looked at, okay? I think it's one of the only legit, like working functional ad sources right now that's working on Facebook, okay? So to summarize, I think you're gonna see in 2020, boom, social media in all places falling off the cliff. Just look at the number of articles that you're starting to see from people who are predicting this. Second, you got really 1.5 or 1 and 2 halves. LinkedIn, in my opinion, is a place to be. Remember I said there's 3 things? Your profile, got to be all-star. Okay, it should be really, really good. Number 2, connections are important. Connect with the people who are most appropriate to you and your customer base. Okay, number 3 is content. Different content, you got articles, posts, and videos, and soon live streaming. Okay, so that's it on LinkedIn. Invite, Douglas said, let's see. All right, I'm going to jump into the comments really quickly. Hang on, wrong camera. I'm going to jump into the comments really quickly, and then I'm going to answer your questions, and then we're going to wrap it up. Thank you, by the way. Man, we had so many people join us, and y'all stayed. So you are amazing. Mary asked a question about the hotels. Here's the deal. I do an event. The event in April is at a TV studio in Dallas. So when we do the event there, that means you can stay wherever. We're going to recommend a few hotels, but you can stay wherever you want. We have a 5-star, a 4-star, and a 3-star recommendation for the hotels. And you'll get a great deal when you stay at any of those. It's in an area where there's a ton of hotels, so you're going to pay less than you would if we did some hotel thing. But you get all the information when you register. I've got a couple extra seats to lunch on day 1 of the event. And by the way, the next time you see this thing, the price is going up. I've been meaning to move it up. I just haven't. My team and I have been doing some other stuff on the side when it comes to that event. So that the price will go up. Let me just see if I've missed anything. I think I got most of the comments. If I missed your comment, by the way, feel free to go ahead and put that in there. All right. So let me just go through a couple of the questions. And then if you have questions, put them in chat or in the Q&A. I've got just a few more minutes and then we're going to wrap it up. But Lindsay says, the question I struggle with as a small freelancer is how to attract higher level clients. What can I do to better reassure larger corporations and high-level clients that I can handle their needs? Also, how can I go about getting my name out to potential clients like this? Is there something inherently risky about a sole prop freelancer in terms of quality? Lindsay, not unless you make it an issue, right? So if you apologize for it or you go, hey, you know, I'm not like one of those big guys, you could even make it an advantage and just say, hey, look, like the biggest advantage you're going to get from me instead of working with Anderson Consulting is you're going to bring in somebody with more experience, but also a set of eyes that's not going to just run some sort of like standardized playbook, but actually look at you with a unique set of eyes and be able to give you recommendations. You're going to get my brain. More importantly, you're going to get my time to be able to help you. I think you've heard me say this a few times, Lindsay, but the best way to reassure people, there's really 2 great positioning tools. One of them is a book. If you haven't written a book, it would be great to just write something, even if it's short, make it look amazing on the front cover and the back cover, but something short. And the second one is speaking. And the 1-2 punch, like using a book to get speaking events, it's one of the things I'm going to teach at my event. You don't need to have a book to get speaking events. And by the way, if you're not really sure how to get speaking events, one of the modules I teach at Ultimate Speaker in April is how to get people to call you out of the blue to do speaking events. And I'm going to do, hey, Pat Zemer, thanks for coming, buddy. I'll talk to you soon, pal. Come in April, man, if I haven't seen you for a while. So one of the things I teach you is how to get people to call you out of the blue. Part of that has to do with platform, right? So part of that has to do with what's your website look like. This event that I just got, this big keynote speech in London, I wouldn't have gotten it if it wasn't for the fact that my website had and looked the part, you know, and it was very providential. So anyway, let me see if I missed anything else here. How do you get your name out, man? Link, like I love this place for connecting. It's you can connect one-on-one with the CEOs of the organizations that you want to work with. Okay. Let's see if I missed anything. Cool. I think I answered all those. Nobby says LinkedIn is for grownups. Yeah. Hey, Bruce. So I was going to do, he said, you're going to do an Ultimate Speaker in Southern California. I was going to do my spring event in California, but the hotels are just the worst. Like, I don't know if you've done any hotel events, but like, oh my goodness, I don't want to do another hotel contract as long as I live. So I'm working, Bruce, on my spring event or my fall event, September, October, to be a San Diego event. Okay, I was going to do this one in San Diego, but after I got done talking to the hotels, I'm like, forget you. All right. So Roy says, I've created and delivered a workshop called How to Alleviate Anxiety in the Workplace with rave reviews. How do you suggest the best way to promote this event? All right, cool. So Roy, first thing, if you have video of your event, one of the best things that you can do is put together what is called a sizzle reel. So let me pull up. Okay, I'm just going to pull up this website really quickly. Let me see if this actually works. Let me see if this actually shares. All right, hang on. Zooms. Here we go. All right, so Roy, this is my edrush.com website. There's going to be a couple changes to the front page of this website you'll see in the next week, but this is called a sizzle reel. So if you watch this thing opens up.
4-time #1 best-selling author and corporations.
You'll see. So you'll see some videos. You'll see inside of that sizzle reel, there's videos of me speaking, right? There's other ones. Where did I go? Oh, if you go to the Ultimate Speaker page, see this right here? This isn't a sizzle reel, but it's kind of like one. I got to share this. Hold on. Okay, so you see that, right? There's right on my website, this little. I don't know if you have an email list or social media, start dropping clips. So the last event I did, Ultimate Speaker in October, I recorded the entire event. Over the next couple weeks, I'm going to start sending you little clips. Like, here's a little me on teaching this. There's a little me on teaching this. And the idea is to give people like a little bit of a test or a little bit of a taste of your event. Okay. Next is, oh, wait a second. Lisa says, oh, I got frozen. Next is, if you want to promote an event, you got like people ask me, how do you put 150 people into an event? I'm like, I don't know one way to put 150 people in an event. I know 15 ways to put 10 people into an event. And I'm telling you, when I start promoting Ultimate Speaker, there are like 15 different campaigns that I've got going on to be able to promote this thing. And you're going to end up with the similar kind of thing. So just a couple thoughts as far as promoting the event. Let's see. Rick says, good stuff. Great to see you again. Talk to you soon. Long says, who do you recommend getting a sizzle reel from? And any competent video person should be able to put all your clips together, but you're going to need the clips. So right now I have one of my clients that I'm working with on getting a sizzle reel. And one of the things I'm having him do is go out and try to get some local media. Again, like the local morning show or whatever. It's not even that hard to do. You just got to connect with that person. LinkedIn's a good place to do that, by the way. Put yourself out there as an expert, offer to share some expertise, get there. They'll give you the video clip, you throw it into your sizzle reel, right? Again, it looks like the one that I just showed you has boom, 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 some media clips, and it just gives you that credibility, okay? Good. Roy says, thanks much. Mary Costa says, see you. Man, it's going to be awesome to see you too. And Delisa put the link for the, actually the link to the website takes you directly to the bottom of the website. So if you want to see the whole website, scroll to the top or just type in ultimatespeaker.com. All right. So here's the dealio. I'm going to just do a quick wrap up and then we're going to jump off and bam, man, we went for a couple hours today. Oh man, I knew this was going to be fun. We talked about we started by talking about Iran. Then I went into my 5-part business plan: mindset, leads, consistent customers, team, time. By the way, if you want to go deep on that, I have an event next week. It's a mini mastermind. It's a $4,000 event that I discounted for my event attendees down to 3. If you want to come, you can get in at that price. You just got to email me, support@edrush.com. I just had one of my coaching members tell me that they couldn't come, a little health issues. So there's a spot open for you. It's a small little 22, 23 person event where we work together for 2 days on your business. So it's actually a really great deal. If that interests you, let me know right away. Support@edrush.com. In the meantime, register for the April event. Look, like I said, if you can't make it, you find out later on you can't make it, we'll refund you, right? So get your seat now while it's really inexpensive and before the price goes up, because you know that you're going to want to come. I talked about the business plan. Then I brought on Mike Koenigs. We talked about tech stuff, which was awesome. Then I told you my prediction on the stock market on the 2020 presidential election and the death of social media. I had a blast. I hope you had a blast too. Malika says, you're awesome. I always learn something and leave inspired. thank you so much for your time. I will stick around for just a few minutes to say goodbye to you on chat. And I'm not going to send a recording out. If you really want one, just email my team, support@edrush.com, and we will send you a link, assuming it comes out properly on Zoom. All right, that's it for now. Oh, there's the email right there. Nabi, my man, says, thanks, mate. Hey, Nabi, I've been thinking about your country, man. We're sending prayers your way, buddy. And I must have seen 100 koala videos this week. So hope everything all is well at home. Elaine says, thank you. See you next week. Yeah, Elaine and Charles, you don't know this, but you are captains of a group. In fact, your little group, I created these little mastermind groups for this training next week, 4 people, little power groups. And Charles and Elaine, your group are called the Sailors. I thought that was kind of fun. Lori says, excellent as always. And Bruce, my man, says, excellent presentation. Look forward to more. Yeah, love the sailors. Charles and Elaine sailed the world and as missionaries, by the way. Really kind of a cool story. So they'll be here. They'll be at the event in April too. In fact, last event, Charles presented. Oh man, I should tell you this. 4 people this year are going to get to compete in April for the title of Ultimate Speaker. And if you get selected, you get this beautiful video of you speaking in front of a really big crowd. And usually what I do is after registration goes, I send out a survey, and then you can apply to be one of the speakers. So if you want to come speak at my event, you got to register for my event. Charles said, should I bring my sailing hat? Yeah, if you want to. Everybody who I took, most of the group leaders are my partner advisor people. And you're not doing anything. You're gonna facilitate the little group. It's nothing complicated. But like for example, Lonica Stephen, who is one of my coaching members, is from Toronto, so her group is called the Raptors. Andy says, excellent presentation. Thanks, Ed, and see you in April. Awesome, man. Look forward to seeing you in April too. Let me see. Oh, here we go. Billy, welcome to the event. You are amazing. Looking forward to seeing you as well. Looking forward to seeing you again, actually. All right, guys, I'm going to check out and go upstairs. Behind you, oh, Robert, my man. Behind you on anything we can do for your country, another warrior and patriot that only wants what's best for the country and our world. Hey, Robert, thank you for being an awesome patriot as well, my Army friend. So, all right, guys, I appreciate you very much. That's going to be a wrap for today. In a week and a half, I've got a buddy of mine named Jonathan Sprinkles who's going to come on and talk about connection, and I'll send some emails about that. Linda says, thanks, Ed. Hey, I'll see you next week, too. And Linda, you are leading a group next week, too, and your group is called, oh, what did I name yours? The Royals, Kansas City Royals. All right. You can be the Chiefs if you want. Tell me if you want ahead of time. All right, guys, love you a lot. I will talk to you soon. Have an awesome weekend, and God bless. I'm going to turn off the recording, and you guys are amazing.